From my contacts with policymakers in a number of countries, I learned quite a bit about how international relations really works. It is quite different from what most people imagine. Countries behave in a more self-interested and less considerate way than what most of us would consider appropriate for individuals. We are going to be doing some more reading. We have Principles by Ray Dalio that we are reading today, which is a really great book so far. It is raining outside, but we are all inside going to do some reading, which will give us some motivation and some really great knowledge for the day. So let's get back to the section that we were reading about, which is all about anticipating the European debt crisis. So we were talking about the fact that Ray Dalio was going to policymakers that they were not really sure whether they should listen to him or not. And we were also talking about the fact that it's really important to understand the terms, and that if there's something that I read that you are not sure of, to send me a message on Instagram so that I can make a video and answer those questions for you. Let's get back into it. This has been very, very interesting so far. It is always good to learn about how things have gone in the past and how they relate to what might happen in the future so that you can use that in your investing. So here we go. So he was talking about a video that he released in which he actually spoke about how the economic machine works. We were talking about the fact that I would love to see if I can get a copy of that. So let me actually add that to my list right now. From my contacts with policymakers in a number of countries, I learned quite a bit about how international relations really works. It is quite different from what most people imagine. Countries behave in a more self-interested and less considerate way than what most of us would consider appropriate for individuals. That would definitely be true because it's not personal. It's my country. So I can do with it, and I have a lot more protection than if I was just an individual. When countries negotiate with one another, they typically operate as if they are opponents in a chess match or merchants in a bazaar, in which maximizing one's own benefit is the sole objective. Smart leaders know their own country's vulnerabilities, take advantage of others' vulnerabilities, and expect the other country's leaders to do the same. Most people who haven't had direct contact with the leadership of their own and other countries form their view based on what they learn in the media and become quite naive and inappropriately opinionated as a result. That's because dramatic stories and gossip draw more readers and viewers than does clinical objectivity. Also, in some cases, journalists have their own ideological biases that they are trying to advance. As a result, most people who see the world through the lens of the media tend to look for who is good and who is evil, rather than what the vested interests and relative powers are and how they are being played out. For example, people tend to embrace stories about how their own country is moral and the rival country is not, when most of the time these countries have different interests that they are trying to maximize. The best behaviors one can hope for come from leaders who can weigh the benefits of cooperation and who have long enough time frames that they can see how the gifts that they give this year may bring them benefits in the future. These conflicts of vested interest don't just play out internationally. It can also be nasty within countries. Finding out what's true, there we go, we'll just quickly decline that one. Finding out what's true and trying to do what's in everyone's best interest is rare. Though most policymakers pretend that that's what they're doing. More typically, they act in support of their constituents' interests. For example, representatives of those with greater income will say higher taxes stifle growth, while representatives of those with less income will say the opposite. It's hard to get everyone to even try to look at the whole picture objectively, let alone to operate in the interests of the whole. Nonetheless, I came to respect most of the policymakers I worked with and to feel sorry for them because of the terrible positions they were in. Most are highly principled people who are forced to operate in unprincipled environments. The job of a policymaker is challenging under the best of circumstances, and it's almost impossible during a crisis. The politics are horrendous, and distortions and outright misinformation from the media make things worse. A number of the policymakers I met, including Draghi, Guindos, Schäuble, Bernanke, Geithner, Summers, and many others, were real heroes, meaning that they put others and the mission they committed to above themselves. Unfortunately, most policymakers enter their career as idealists and leave disillusioned. That is a very interesting one, isn't it? One of those heroes I have been fortunate enough to learn from, and I hope help, is China's Wang Qishan, who has been a remarkable force for good for decades. To explain what he is like and the journey that took him into the top of China's leadership would take more of this book than I can spare. In brief, Wang is a historian, a very high-level thinker, and a very practical man. I have rarely known a person to be both extremely wise and extremely practical. A leading shaper of the Chinese economy for decades, who was also responsible for eliminating corruption, he is known to be a no-nonsense man who can be trusted to get stuff done. Every time I go to China, we meet for 60 to 90 minutes. We talk about what's happening in the world and how that relates to thousands of years of history and the never-changing nature of mankind. We discuss a wide range of other topics as well, ranging from physics to artificial intelligence. We are both keenly interested in how and most everything happens over and over again, the forces behind those patterns, and the principles that work and don't work in dealing with them. I gave Wang a copy of Joseph Campbell's great book, The Hero with a Thousand Faces, because he is a classic hero, and I thought it might help him. I also gave him The Lessons of History, a 104-page distillation of the major forces through history by Will and Ariel Durand, and River Out of Eden by the insightful Richard Dawkins, which explains how evolution works. He gave me George Plekhanov's classic On the Role of the Individual in History. All these books showed how the same things happen over and over again throughout history. Most of my conversations with Wang are at the principle level. He sees the rhyme of history and puts the particulars we speak of in that context. Unattainable goals appeal to heroes, he once told me. Capable people are those who sit there worrying about the future. The unwise are those who worry about nothing. If conflicts get resolved before they become acute, there wouldn't be any heroes. His advice has helped me in my planning for Bridgewater's future. For example, when I asked him about checks and balances of power, he pointed to Julius Caesar's overthrow of the Roman Senate and Republic as an illustration of how important it is to make sure no one person is more powerful than the system. I took his advice to heart as I set out to improve Bridgewater's governance model. Every time I speak with Wang, I feel that I get closer to cracking the unifying code that unlocks the laws of the universe. He uses his timeless perspective to see the present and the likely future more clearly. Being around such people, especially if I can help them, is thrilling to me. What a great idea to be able to share these things together with somebody. And I'm very fascinated by how politics and how the whole you go in as an idealist and you come out disillusioned really is. It is very, very interesting. So some extra books that you might be interested in having a look at, I really, really love. And I'm going to do some more research on Wang Qishan. Seems like a very, very interesting person that there would be quite a lot to learn from. So I'm keen to see what kind of things come out of it, what kind of things I can learn by doing some research on him, kind of wise things he said, and see what I can do to learn from it. And well, I'll probably share some over time with you as well. Okay, here we go. Let's continue a little bit further. Returning the Boon. Joseph Campbell, The Hero with a Thousand Faces, one of the books I gave to Wang, as well as a number of other heroes I know, was introduced to me by my son Paul in 2014. While I had seen Campbell on television nearly 30 years earlier and remember being impressed by him, I hadn't really read his books. In it, Campbell looks at a large number of heroes from different cultures, some real and some mythical, and describes their archetypal journeys through life. Campbell's description of how journeys become heroes aligned with my thinking about shapers, and it gave me powerful insights about the heroes I know and the patterns of my own life. For Campbell, a hero isn't a perfect person who always gets things right. Far from it. A hero is someone who found or achieved or did something beyond the normal range of achievement, and who has given his life to something bigger than himself or other than himself. I had met a number of such people throughout my life. What was most interesting about Campbell's work was his description of how they got that way. Heroes didn't begin as heroes. They just become them because of the way one thing leads to another. The diagram on the following page shows the archetypical hero's journey. They typically start out leading ordinary lives in an ordinary world and are drawn by a call to adventure. This leads them down a road of trials filled with battles, temptations, successes, and failures. Along the way, they are helped by others, often by those who are further along the journey and serve as mentors. Though those who are less far along also help in various ways. They also gain allies and enemies and learn how to fight, often against convention. Along the way, they encounter temptations and have clashes and reconciliations with their fathers and their sons. They overcome their fears of fighting because of the great determination to achieve what they want, and they gain their special powers, i.e. skills, from both battles that test and teach them, and from gifts such as advice that they receive from others. Over time, they both succeed and fail, but they increasingly succeed more than they fail as they grow stronger and keep striving for more, which leads to even bigger and more challenging battles. Heroes inevitably experience at least one very big failure, which Campbell calls an abyss, or the belly of the whale experience, that tests whether they have the resilience to come back and fight smarter and with more determination. If they do, they undergo a change, have a metamorphosis, in which they experience the fear that protects them without losing the aggressiveness that propels them forward. With triumphs come rewards, though they don't realize it when they are in their battles. The hero's biggest reward is what Campbell calls the boon, which is the special knowledge about how to succeed that the hero has learned throughout his journey. Late in life, winning more battles and acquiring more rewards typically becomes less exciting to heroes than passing along that knowledge to others, returning the boon, as Campbell called it. Once the boon is returned, the hero is free to live and then free to die, whereas I see it to transition from the second phase of life to the third phase, in which one is free to save a life until one passes away. Reading Campbell, I saw that heroes, like shapers, come in varying sizes. There are big ones and small ones. That they are real people and that we all know some. I also saw that being a hero is typically not all it's cracked up to be. They get beat up a lot, and many are attacked, humiliated, or killed even after they triumph. In fact, it's hard to see the logic for choosing this hero role if one were to choose, but I could see and relate to how a certain type of person would start and stay on that path. And I don't think people really choose this path. I think it just happens, obviously. While Campbell's description of the hero's journey captured the essence of my own journey through life and the journeys of many of the people I call shapers, hero is not a word that I would use to describe myself, and I certainly would not put my own accomplishments on the level of the heroes Campbell wrote about. But learning about the hero's journey did help me crystallize my understanding of where I was in my journey and what I should do next. The section on returning the boon spoke to me in a personal way, as though Campbell knew exactly what I was wrestling with. With the reflections it prompted, I could see that my life would be over in a relatively short time, and that what I'd leave behind could be more important, last longer, and affect many more people than those at Bridgewater and my family. That helped make clear that I needed to pass along the things I had that could help others beyond me. Most importantly, the principles in this book, but also my money. As the saying goes, you can't take it with you. My need to start thinking about who should get what wasn't just because of my age and the time I should take to do it well. It was also instinctive. Over the time, the circle of people and things I cared about had broadened from just me when I was young, to me, my family, when I became a parent, to my community when I was a bit more mature, to people beyond my community and the whole environment now. And that brings us to the next section, which is called Wrestling with the Question of Philanthropy. Excuse me. So, the hero's journey is definitely not something that you can choose. So it is the things that you encounter on your life's journey that will either send you down that path or not. It is what you choose to do when life gives you those certain challenges and different things. that will determine whether you go down that path or not. Whether you see a bigger picture or whether you take the short-term gains that you are looking to achieve in life are going to determine whether you go down that path. But the idea of returning the boon or giving back, of being able to contribute after you have received and been able to get something from life, that is what returning the boon is all about. So in the next part of this chapter, I'm sure that we're going to be talking about philanthropy and what Ray Dalio is doing to be able to give back. Now, for many of us, that is way too early and way too young to go and have a look at that. For some of us, maybe it is. And yes, it becomes very, very important to be able to grapple with that and to be able to see what you want to give back, how you want to give back, and what life has given you, and to be able to be open and grateful and thankful for what you have received. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. I think the biggest things from today are to be able to understand that there is a hero's journey that you can go on if you choose to take what life gives you, because I think everybody receives something that can lead you on a hero's journey, but it depends on whether it is the right thing for you and how you're going to do it, as to whether you're going to go down that path or not. It is much safer to go down the path of not going down a hero's journey, because you will not be ridiculed, laughed at, etc., etc. But if you see a bigger picture, if there is more that you want to achieve, then you will go down that path, and you will absolutely have a harder time with it. But that is all I can probably say, because it's going to be different for everybody, and the choice is in the choices that you make. Okay, I am looking forward to continuing on tomorrow and talking about the philanthropy that we are looking to talk about how Ray Dalio wants to pass on his legacy and give back based on all of the amazing things that he's been able to achieve. I also really, really loved and was fascinated by Wang and the stories of the Chinese wisdom, and looking at history and what has happened throughout history and how it repeats, and how you can use that information in order to be able to lead a good life. So if you're enjoying this, if you want to see me read the other chapters of Principles Ray Dalio, or Rich Dad Poor Dad, which we have already completed, and I have to put up against my face on Zoom, otherwise it doesn't work, or The Art of Thinking Clearly, then you can go to YouTube. You can find us at the Passive Cashflow Club, and would love to see you there and get your thoughts and comments. Also, when you are there, make sure you hit subscribe, because we are also making videos answering your questions. So if there is something in this chapter that you are not sure of, if you have any questions around anything in this chapter, if you'd like to leave some comments or have a chat to me about it, feel free to reach out on Instagram. You can find me there at business_team_6_official, and you'll be able to reach out. If you are interested in being able to ask a question, send it there, and we might turn it into a video explaining what that is and how it works. And I'm very, very happy to answer any questions around the book that you might have, and turn it into a video so everybody can benefit. Returning the boon. If you are on Instagram anyhow, you may as well also ask me about this game, Cashflow, that I talk about so often, which is a great way for you to be able to get started on your journey, or to be able to improve from wherever you are. It will teach you about business, about stock market, about real estate. It will teach you how to combine them, how to create a wealth creation plan so that you can achieve great things and then also give back. So you can have your own little hero's journey, whether it becomes a big hero's journey or a small hero's journey, just like Ray Dalio. So feel free to reach out and let me know that you are interested, and we will get the information across to you with regards to how you can come and join us. So just mention Cashflow or the online simulator, and we will get that information out to you. We are going to be playing next week, so that is very, very exciting. So just let me know, and we'll send you out the details. You can come and join us. You will learn amazing things. You will be able to practice and test different strategies. You'll be able to be surrounded by like-minded people. So many different amazing advantages. Learn about taxation and see some things that are more realistic than anything else that will teach you about investing. And there's also some psychology and how it tricks the brain, etc., etc. So would love to see you for that. Would love to see you on the YouTube channel. Would love to have your questions so that we can answer those as well. Will not just benefit you, but will benefit everybody that is a part of the YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe and you will get notifications when those come through. Okay, I'm going to head over to the Big O. We're going to stop the recording. I am looking forward to seeing you all again tomorrow for another reading. In the meantime, remember to make the switch to unlock your rich, because if you keep doing the same things in the same way, you'll get the same result. And even though history repeats itself, you don't have to repeat yourself, because we are individuals and we are able to make switches that allow us to unlock those riches. So I'm looking forward to seeing you again for another reading tomorrow. Have an absolutely amazing day today, and I will see you all very soon. And thank you so much for joining.